better.
Yo, everybody, this is Josh's evil pink-haired twin from WA Production subbing in here for Josh today. How is it going? Happy Friday. Sorry, my mic was having an issue connecting there, but here I am. Apologize for the delay. Josh asked me to sub in today, so here I am. Welcome back for another week of our live stream feedback session, live stream production session, whatever you want to call it. I'm glad you guys are here, back with another week. If you guys, I'm getting some good comments about that music. I also agree. It's awesome. And it's actually the preview for our Holy Bass House pack, which is only $6 right now. So if you like that, I would suggest grabbing that pack. Anyway, for those who are new or those whose memory is failing them, each week I dive into the DAW and show you guys some stuff, and then we go into the track feedback portion of the session where I will review tracks that you guys submit and give my hopefully helpful constructive criticism and feedback on it. We've been getting a lot of really awesome submissions lately, so thank you so much for continuing to send those in. The only place to send those in is through our Discord server via the live stream feedback channel within the server. The link to the server is above my head in the frame of this video and also in the description of this video. So please only send them there. Please only send SoundCloud links. I will attempt if I come across a Dropbox link or a Drive link, but SoundCloud is very, very much preferred. We never have issues with SoundCloud links. No videos, no YouTube links. Please only send in one song and only send it once. If I see people spamming the submissions, I will just skip you. So, and don't forget that I go in a random order. So if I skip you and you're near the top, don't worry. I might come back to you. Just it does not go straight down the line. So with that being said, today I just wanted to dive into our pretty awesome plugin with Jonas Aiden, which is Biggifier. And I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it, but Biggifier is really cool because it's really a bunch of different plugins in one, sort of. But what's cool about it too is that it keeps it super simple. Like, even people who are super experts in music production and stuff like that sometimes like to just have a simple plugin where you're not having to think too much. You can kind of just, it limits your parameters because there's only so much you can tweak, right? And so sometimes it's nice to be able to just throw on something, tweak one knob, hear how it sounds, see if it makes it sound better or worse, and go from there, rather than having to dial in attack times, release times, decay times, all this different stuff. So Biggifier has a bunch of really cool algorithms in it designed to make your sound bigger. So I just kind of wanted to show you guys some different applications for it and some ways that we can make it sound cool. Let me just make sure that my audio is set up correctly. I just remembered. Yep. Okay. I think we should be good. So I'm just gonna use a few like random Ableton stock sounds because those usually don't sound too great, and we can probably make them sound better. So let me see. I was hoping to grab a loop. These are like individual samples. That'll work. Okay, so that'll be a good example. So we got this guitar loop here. If you have any problems hearing or anything like that, let me know. I think it should be okay, but I'm going to turn off Biggifier first. Oh, did it? Ugh. So when I updated to to Ableton 11, I usually have auto warping off, and I guess it's still turned on with the new Ableton 11, which I hate that. I don't know why that's the default setting, but here we go. All right, it's okay, not that interesting, but just going to use it as an example and just kind of show you the things that Biggifier can do. So there's 5 different modes here, kind of depending on what you want to do with the sound. So we'll start from the bottom. Biggiverb is obviously, reverb driven. Biggadriver is more like a saturation driven. Bigacquire is more chorus driven, and Biggifier and Biggifier, they're spelled like fire and fire. They are kind of an interesting combo of different effects that we've created. So let's see here. So let's just put this on the first setting, Biggifier, and see kind of how it sounds. gotta not bypass the plugin though first, right? It's like, why isn't it making any sound? Okay, gotta turn it on. That's pretty cool right out the gate. I mean, taking, you know, hey Matthew, I am not the founder or owner of WA Production. That would be Roman, but I am his trusty sidekick, I guess you could call me. All right. But yeah, so you can hear already. So I mean, if you're listening on good headphones or speakers, you can probably hear that it sounds much wider already. When you record a guitar, that's just one example. You can use Biggifier on all sorts of different sounds, but when you record a guitar, it's often pretty mono, pretty basic, and that's why a lot of times you record multiple guitar takes, pan one left, pan one right, that kind of thing to give it some width. But another thing you can do is through cool effects like this. And so, I mean, just that first setting, it sounds pretty great. And this is with it off. All right, let's check out some of the other settings. So we got the Biggifier F-I-R-E mode. So yeah, you can adjust the mix, so how wet, how the affected signal is mixed with the original dry signal. And within bigness, obviously that's how much you're driving that effect. So yeah, you can mess with those, and the length is basically adjusting like the times, so the attack, release, decay, those kind of times are all included there rather than being all separate. It's like a single knob that adjusts it over time. So that's the second setting. One thing I want to point out too is that you've got tons of really awesome presets up here as well. So here's a guitar one right here. You can add a bunch of saturation. So there's lots of different presets as well. I'm gonna not skip ahead though. So Biggifier, more of a chorus-based mode. So yeah, you can hear that super chorusy sound. It's got that chorus, gives it like almost it kind of makes it sound a little out of key, not like so bad, but like it gives it that like kind of dissonant sound. You can always tell when it's chorus versus a non-chorus widening trick, because it gives it that characteristic chorusy sound. Alrighty. And then we've got Biggifier, which is, like I said, more saturation based. So that's cool to add a little bit of grit. Maybe you do it like not at 100% wet. You can do it as a mix and give it just kind of a little bit of crispiness and on top of there. So that's a cool one too. And then we got Biggifier, which is reverb driven. So yeah, and then up here you can adjust the input gain and the output gain. That can basically control how, all of these have some compression involved, all of these different settings, and so you can basically adjust how hard you're pushing your original signal into the compressor, and then obviously the output would adjust, how loud it's coming out on the back end, because when you add certain effects, it often, as you can see by the glass breaking over here, it's a funny effect. It'll often add volume, which you may not want. You may want it to come out at the same volume that it came in at, so you can adjust, you can make up for that by pulling down the output. But anyway, there's a lot of cool different things you can do here. I mean, there's settings for drums, settings for guitars, settings for synths, vocals. You can do some cool stuff with vocals. Let me see if there's any sort of vocal sample I can use here. Oops. Just so you can kind of hear.
Possibility. Bam. Bam.
I like so rarely use Ableton stock sounds. Let's use this guy. Let's hear. We got yeah over here. Yeah. Let's put on one of these vocal presets. Yeah. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I mean it's really fun to play with. It's really easy to use. Yeah. Super easy to use, super fun to play with, all sorts of different kind of settings, and that's the thing, is you can like throw this onto anything, whether it's a plugin or onto samples or whatever it is, and within seconds, you can have a pretty cool new sounding sound. So we tried to make it super easy. Obviously Jonas Aiden was super involved in putting this together and coming up with the idea. But I think it's just a really cool, really useful tool to have in your arsenal. So if you guys don't have it, you can download the free demo and try it out. I would suggest that, and you can see what you think. But yeah, so that'll be it for now. If there's any plugins, whether there are plugins or not, that you guys are interested in learning more about in the future, or if there's anything non-plugin related, like, music theory stuff, or compression, or like specific concepts that you'd like to learn more about, composition, recording vocals, all sorts of stuff like that, I'd love to help you out, and maybe do that in a future episode. So please send any suggestions that you have on Discord, either directly to me or in the live stream Q&A channel, and I'll try to consider those for the future. But with all of that being said, if there are no questions that I see, I'm going to move on to the track feedback session. So, goodbye, Biggifier. Okay. All right, so let's see what we've got here today. We've got a bunch of submissions already. Like I said before, if anybody joined late, I go in a random order. If I skip you, don't worry. I might come back to you. I definitely won't get to everybody today, unfortunately. But I will do my best to get to as many as I can, and hopefully yours will get chosen. So we're going to start today with Emmy Honey Bye Bye Bye. Honey Bye Bye. Emmy.
Desert in my head, desert in my heart. I don't wanna feel much lonely as I felt all my whole life. Desert in my head, desert in my heart. I don't wanna feel much lonely as I felt all my whole life. Bye, goodbye honey, bye bye. 'Cause I'm taking it right without you by my side. Bye, you've got reason to cry. Now I'm having it right without you by my side. I don't wanna feel much lonely as I felt on my. Don't wanna waste my time. Wanna feel much lonely as I felt all my whole life. Goodbye honey, bye bye. Goodbye honey, bye bye.
Okay, nice job. So, firstly, I want to say I really like the groove. I really like the idea, and that bass line is really cool. The vocalist has a great voice. So, first, I would say that I think I'm not feeling it enough. Like, your kick kind of gets lost in there somewhere. I think it's pretty thin. I know this isn't a hard style track or something, but I do feel like I need to feel that bump, 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 bump. And then, in rhythm with that bass line, I kind of am losing the kick. So try and focus on getting the drums to stand out a little bit more. Um, Also, I feel like your synthetic elements sound a little um, sterile and just like drab. Like I kind of, I couldn't decide if I liked or not where the synth comes in here and it kind of changes things up, makes it more electronic. I think I do like the idea. I just think the execution needs to be better. So I think that like they just sound very thin and kind of behind in the mix and just like not that interesting. So I think like use some saturation or something, make them a little bit more forward in the mix, maybe put Biggifier on it. But yeah, get it to sound like more interesting and more like a lead sound. That would be my suggestion. And then regarding the vocal, so she's a very good singer, but a couple of things. When you are, working, I don't know if you're the singer or if you're the producer or who you are, but when a singer is singing in English and it's not their first language, firstly, I think it's important to make sure that they enunciate well enough so that somebody can understand everything she's saying. I think there are parts where, as an American, I struggled to understand a couple of the words, which I think is important to be able to do. And then secondly, I don't know if she wrote the lyrics or what the circumstance is, but to be honest, some of the lyrics don't make sense in English. Like they just aren't how a person who speaks English well would say those things. And so I think it's important that if you are the person, or if you're working with someone who is writing lyrics in English, and English is not their first language, I think it's important to maybe send those lyrics to somebody who is a native English speaker, whether you know somebody personally or if you just go on one of the freelance platforms and hire somebody for $5 or $10 to look at it. I think that would be valuable because no matter how great the song is, I think if the lyrics don't make sense, I think it's always going to be hard to make the song break through. So your main line in this song is an example of that. It doesn't really make sense in English. So definitely work on that. But overall, the song itself is good, and I enjoyed it for sure. Nice job. Okay, next we've got, if I can drag it over there, we've got Scar by Odyssey by Scar. Sorry about that.
Take
Alrighty, thanks for sending that in. So a lot of good stuff here. I like the idea. I like the vocal. I like the energy of it. I think the first main thing I would say is go and listen to other future bouncy tracks, whatever genre you want to call this, and just hear listen for the mix. And what I mean by that is like the volume of the different elements and how they work with each other. So the biggest thing here is like this is a bounce track. Your bass, that like bass synth and the layers associated with it need to be the focus. And so it's very quiet. And when I think of bounce, I think of bom 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 bom, whatever it is, and like that's the lead. Your bass synth, whatever is happening down there is your lead. And if you go back to your drops, it's just very quiet. Like that needs to be like twice as loud. I mean, that should be basically treated like a lead. And then your lead, the synth, the higher melody that's playing is a little too loud. So, I think just focus on improving the mix is your main thing that you need to do here. Again, if this is released, just do it for the next one, all good. And just use what I'm saying for the future. But yeah, I think that's the big thing is like you've got the production, it's pretty good. I think there's some maybe compositional things you could maybe improve. Like I feel like certain sections tend to drag on and it's kind of hard to feel where one ends and where one begins. So maybe you could improve on your transitions and the arrangement of different sections. But mainly I think the mix is your next step to really improve on because the production's not bad, it's pretty good. So I think just focusing on getting it to sound, this is where you can copy other songs. Don't copy other songs in terms of the composition, production, like the sound design, any of that stuff. But you totally can copy other songs in your genre based on their mix, because you don't want your song to sound like it has a way quieter bass or a way louder lead than other songs in the genre, because it just won't sound professional. But nice job. It's getting there for sure. All right, next we've got Cylone featuring NX33 Vision.
Stars in your eyes, with you to the moon, calling in the light. We need to see the vision of the universe, calling in the light. Darkness light, the light to see the vision. Stars in your eyes, with you to the moon, calling in the light of the universe, calling in the light in your eyes. Darkness light, the light to see the way.
All right, thank you for sending that. It's getting there. It's got some good elements for sure. Firstly, I would say, especially in a genre like this, there's not enough sub. You've got that like bassy pluck, which is great, but sometimes when you've got this really good bassy pluck sound that's kind of mid-range, it may not have enough low end, and so you might need to mix it with a sub or use a, there's several ways you can do this. I think probably just EQing isn't going to do it. I think maybe you need to have a sub layer below it, playing the same exact notes with a similar or same, decay time, that kind of thing. So try that. You want to be able to feel it. Take a look at maybe some other songs in the genre, and look on like a spectrum analyzer and see how yours compares. I can pretty much guarantee you that they're going to have like a much bigger chunk lower down than you do. And so, yeah, you definitely want that. And you'll really start to feel it more. Secondly, that vocal is good. I like his voice. And I like the effects you have on it, but a couple of things to note, actually similar to what I said before. I think there were some parts where I couldn't quite understand what he's saying. So that's partially enunciation, and that's partially the mix. There are certain times when you have, that pluck lead like higher up that then kind of drowns out your vocal. So you got to make sure that your vocal is the most important thing in the mix. You can't let it be drowned out by anything. So if anything, you've got to, carve out space in your other elements for it. Next, with regard to the vocal, I think there's probably a little too much reverb and stuff, and especially if you are going to have that much reverb on it, you have to high pass it because you've got all this lower mid energy that's kind of drowning out everything else in the song. And then also, for example, certain elements, when you have that much reverb on the vocal, you then kind of have to have that much reverb on all sorts of other stuff. Otherwise, it sounds like they're in different rooms and different spaces. For example, over here, you've got this snap that sounds like it's in the room I'm in, while your vocal sounds like you're in an amphitheater, And so like you got to make these sounds sound like they're in the same room. And so I think if you reduce it a bit, like don't go so overboard on the reverb on your vocal, I think it'll fit the rest of the track better.
Stars in your eyes, with you
like by comparison, I'm sure there is reverb on those snaps, but it sounds like a completely dry snap with a huge reverb vocal. So I would work on that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's good. I think also just your buildups need work. I think right now they're basically just like a simple snare, and then like you add a little bit of the bass line to it at the end. Like that's not enough in dance music to create an effective buildup. You have to have risers. You have to have layers of things that are signifying a change. Go listen to a song in this genre and listen to a buildup and try and identify all the different elements that are happening, and you'll understand. Like when I do buildups, I usually have like 10 to 15 different things happening at once, and that's not to say to make them clash and just have too much happening, but you can have like 3 different risers that are panned in different ways. You can have one start at 16 bars out, another start at 8 bars out, another start at 4 bars out, and that will really make the listener feel like, oh yeah, like something's coming, And so anyway, I know I've spent a lot of time on this one, but I hope that helps. But yeah, you're getting there for sure. Okay, Heatless Fire by Sue.
You son of a...
I love it. It's really, really good. There's one thing that is super easy to fix, but it's killing me. But it's really, really, really good. I'm gonna start with the good. I love the vibe. The vocal sample or whatever that is very good. The drum patterns are great. Just the chillness of it is really good. I'd love to hear, a vocal on it. Not just that sampled kind of filtered vocal, like a real lead vocal. But so the big problem that's super easy to fix. Again, it looks like you've released this song, so don't worry about it. Just keep this in mind for the future. There is a really harsh resonant frequency in that vocal that is killing my ears. It sucks because I'd like to turn it up louder, but it hurts my ears. So when you filter a vocal like that, a lot of times it can accentuate a resonant frequency that you can't really hear or notice when the vocal isn't filtered, because those higher frequency the higher frequency parts that you've filtered out are masking that, and it's covering it, and you can't tell. But when you filter something, now you've gotten rid of all of those high frequency stuff, so you only have this small band, and sometimes there can be a little bit of something there that just hurts, because now that's all you're listening to. And so the trick here is you take an EQ. You basically set a single band with a really high Q so that it's a narrow band, and then you push it up. Try not to kill your ears by pushing it up too much, but you push it up 6, 7, 8, 10 dB, something like that, and just cycle through the spectrum until something jumps out. You'll hear it. I guarantee you I could find it in 5 seconds if I were to do that right now and drag it in my DAW. But it'll be like this really high. I can't do it because I don't have a high pitched enough voice, but this really painful sharp sound. And then once you've identified it, you basically flip your band. You reverse it. Instead of accentuating, you now cut that. You dip out that frequency until it no longer is jumping out at you and hurting your ears. So that is the one thing, absolutely essential, that you fix that kind of thing in the future. Just because, as much as I love this song, unfortunately, I can't go back and listen again because it's gonna hurt. It's just it just hurts. So I don't mean to be a downer, because it's a really great song. Take this as all good stuff, but sometimes when you've been working on something for a long time, you might not notice something like that. It just becomes part of the song. But on a first listen, somebody with fresh ears might say, "Wow, this is something you might not have noticed." But anyway, fix that if you can. But other than that, it's dope. It's really awesome. I love your style. It's really great. Thank you. Okay, Leave by Aryan Jolly.
Tell me, babe, wanna leave this town? I'm saying, love her if you wanna go on down. 'Cause darling, we were made for bigger things. And this place keeps killing our dreams. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We could leave this whole place behind, yeah. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired of waiting. We could leave this whole place behind. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's let's go. Let's go, love. I'm saying it's tired. I've been waiting, we can leave this whole place behind.
Alrighty, nice. I think you sent this in before, unless somebody else used all the same samples. I can't remember. But anyway, if this is an updated version, I think the couple of things I would say are that it's very good. I mean, I love those drops and everything. Really awesome. The vocal, I think, has a little too much reverb, or if not too much reverb, but at least, like I've said before, you need to high pass the reverb. There's a lot of like low end in the reverb that's kind of making it a bit muddy. And then I would say, I really like that crazy, unexpected dubsteppy drop. I think at the end of that portion, when you go back into the future bassy sound, I think you got to do something different to like signify the change. Like the last quarter note or last bar or something, just put in like, just drop everything out and put in like a big growl or something, like just something to really build into that last future bass part, because it's kind of like you have to have like a mini build up almost, like not don't throw in a bunch of drums and like do a full build, but like something to basically say, oh, it's changing again, prepare the listener, and then it hits that future bassy drop. I think that'll be more effective than what you have now, which is more just kind of like rolling back into it. Yeah, I mean, it's good. And then just kind of take a look, just visually. There's a lot of dynamics, so take a look at your mastering. It doesn't look like it's been pushed too hard into a limiter, which in this kind of genre should probably be the case. But overall, really good. I mean, like I said, I listen to a lot of songs on this, every week, and so I recognize it quite clearly. So I don't know if this is a new version or what, but anyway, good job, very nice. Okay, we've got audio trackers, Pona back, V1. All right, so the biggest thing I would say here is that firstly, it's good. I like the energy, the sounds, everything sounds good. I think the first thing, and I think James is actually saying the exact same thing. It sounds like there's no kick, which means I lose out on all of the bounciness. Um, there's, you know, you've got that bass, which I guess is kind of acting like an 808, although it's more like just like a synthy bass sound. And I think you layered a kick sort of with it, but like it just doesn't really work. You need to have a bigger kick that makes you feel it. I mean, this kind of genre, like the kick is such a big part of it, to give it that bounciness. And you just don't have it. So I think redoing that, and then maybe even considering redoing that bass itself, because it's pretty thin, it doesn't have much low end, so you're really not feeling that. I would consider finding like a real, not an 808, this isn't hip hop, I know that, but like either finding one sound that can achieve both, like a very bassy kick, or finding two separate ones and really working to get them to glue together so that you can hear both and that they really complement each other. That would be my big piece of homework for you for this one. Aside from that, I think it's overall good. I think parts, you can maybe do a little bit more, have some more interesting effects or like sounds happening around, because it just kind of, I feel like maybe it drags on a little bit at certain parts, but overall it's good, man. Just try and get that kick to really sound good. That would help. Okay, we got Flux Flame, Purification, and I believe there's about 2 minutes of silence. Maybe there's a couple little drips here. Maybe that's an artistic decision. Let's see.
You say to me, you little shit! What you say to me, you little shit?
All right, some really cool stuff. I'm just going to assume the next 2 minutes are not part of the song. But so I dig it. I feel like there's some Rez inspiration here. I really love that sound design. So I think you just need a couple things. So firstly, detail work. You're getting there, and I've said that, God, when did I start saying getting there all the time? But you're on the right track. But basically, let's talk about this first drop. I love the different stuff you have going on, and then like the second half of the drop kind of feels like you lost all the detail work. Like you've got like the cool call and response different synths happening, the resi sounds and stuff. Over here, it just gets a little repetitive in my mind. So I think just keeping it interesting with all those interesting sounds happening and different synths complementing each other, I think helps. I agree with, Epidemic. I always say your name wrong probably, but that the pre-drop vocal is too loud. I think generally you've just got some mixing issues where certain things are too loud, certain things are too quiet. The drop sounds good in that respect, but then like over here, look how quiet this part is compared to the drop. Like you shouldn't have that much dynamic range. It really got quiet out. I was tempted to turn up my headphones. And also this whole build section, just kind of, you lose all the energy. So really try and focus on the non-drop sections, because it kind of sounds like you kind of left those for later. It's so long. Like you've got like this, what I thought was going to be a drop, and then it kind of drops into, a build. It kind of builds into another build, and like and there's just not enough energy. You kind of just lose it all here. So try and be a little bit more intentional with it. And, again, it needs to have more in the builds. Like you should treat your build like a drop. It's just as important. And if your build isn't good, your drop is going to just be deflated. So focus on those things. Try and improve the mix a bit as well. But I think you're definitely on the right track. Nice job. All right, let's try Epidemic again. I think it'll work this time. Gods. Sorry to stop it in the middle of the build, but this reminded me of something I wanted to say for the last one, and it also applies here. I think generally, and this is something that typically takes until you've been producing for a while for you to like start using this, but like you guys all need to start using more saturation in that last song. Don't worry, I'll flip it back so we don't start in the middle of the build here. Don't worry, Epidemic. But the last song, like there were some cool synths, but like you just need them to growl at you. Like don't be afraid to put some saturation on it and push it hard and get it to really crunch. And same here, like you got these whoop 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 sounds. Like I want that to be grunchy and grimy and like have some high-end crackle, you know? And so like that's kind of the next phase in production. Once you start to get decent at production, you start to use these creative effects to make those sounds sound like they're alive, not just right out of the plugin. So that's my first tip for this song and my last tip for the last one. Nice. Okay, so those drops are sick. I love those growly sounds. Awesome. And you know, the sound design's half the battle, but then actually putting them out in a way that is cool. And I feel like people definitely struggle with chopping them up and doing them in a rhythm and a pattern that sounds good, makes sense, sounds professional, flows well together, and that's totally done well here. So nice job. Sub bass, I would add more of it. Compare it to like a Skrillex song, and you'll just, that sub is like just like so strong, and you feel it. In this one, you kind of lose it a bit. It doesn't sound like so thin. It's not that bad, but like find a way, I would suggest, to get that sub to sound more in your face. In the non-drop sections, there are some elements, like I alluded to with when I paused it, but that could use either more layering or some creative effects, stuff like that. One example is the choir. I felt like it's kind of a very thin choir, and it could use some layers below it. Whether you want some male, people, not just the female singers. Below it, you can layer it with strings, like a cello that you could put below it. I mean, it doesn't all have to be vocals necessarily, but like do something to kind of glue that together and have it take up more of the spectrum, because right now it sounds like you've got like 2 female singers out there, and I want to hear like 25 singers, or something, or like a real choir, not just 2 people in the choir, if that makes sense. So just generally, that's what saturation and stuff can help with as well, is getting these sounds to really sound thicker and fuller. So I would focus on that in the non-drop sections, getting some of these sounds to be bigger. I mean, this is a big track. You have to have some big sounds. So nice job, but really good. I really like those drops. Just kind of get the rest of the song up to the same quality. All right, guys. So unfortunately, that is the hour. Thank you for joining us. We had a lot of submissions today. I know I didn't get to everybody. I'm sorry. I'll try and do you guys next time. Please keep sending them in. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for all of your help with the constructive feedback that you've been putting in the chat. And I will be back again next week. This is actually, I guess his evil twin will be back next week again too. We'll see whether it's Josh or me, his evil twin. But anyway, signing off for today. Hope you guys have an excellent weekend. Those of you who are in India or somewhere else, please go get some sleep. Thank you for joining us. Have a good one. See you later.